Talking with the experts.
Gavin Sequeira explains the 6 stages of growth every entrepreneur goes through in episode 334.
Platforms, and it's quite incredible, and I love the fact that we can do this. So yeah, I think fantastic. And if you've gone through this up and down journey, that's just life. It's not just business; it's actually life. So. Yeah. I don't know anyone who's had a job or who's a kid or who's a parent or who just goes through the normal day that has the same day every day. You have some good days, you have some bad days. But guess what? At the end of the day, there's a new day to look forward to. So I always say to people, if you've had a terrible day, that's fine. What can you learn from it? And the one good thing you can count on is the sun will come up tomorrow. But in our lifetime, the sun is going to come up tomorrow. And so even if it's the darkest day that you've had, and you just don't know how you're going to get through it, the sun will come out tomorrow. Every winter has a spring. Every day, every night has a day. That sort of thing. So,
Welcome to Talking with the Experts. This is where we discuss great ideas to take your business to the next level. How do we know these ideas work? Well, it's because we're talking with business owners who are using these ideas. Business owners who have years of experience and expertise. All things business by business owners for business owners. And now, here is your host, Rose Davidson.
Hello, and welcome to Talking with the Experts. I'm your host, Rose Davidson from rosedavidson.com. Talking with the Experts is about all things business by business owners for business owners. You can find it on all good podcasting streaming platforms and on YouTube. And today my guest is Gavin Sequeira. And Gavin from Break Free from Corporate is going to be discussing with us the six stages of growth that every entrepreneur goes through. And Gavin is an advocate for resilience and change, having lived in war-torn country and escaping religious persecution growing up. Post-migration to Australia and with 10 plus years in the corporate world, working for tech giants IBM and Oracle, Gavin was made redundant overnight. Oh, that's very sad. Catapulting his spiritual and entrepreneurial journey. Today, Gavin lives his mission empowering entrepreneurs to work smarter and not harder, using a combination of intuition coupled with the right systems and skills. Welcome, Gavin, and thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you very much, Rose. It's my pleasure. And I'm coming to you from sunny South Australia, near a town called Port Pirie. And I know that you're in Hobart, so we're on other ends of the country, but it's beautiful over here, and I love it.
Yeah, Australia's a beautiful country.
It is.
Full of contrast.
Yes.
So how did you, it's very sad to know that you were made redundant overnight, but how did you start your journey into your new adventure?
Yeah, so that was a bit of a journey which went over 15 years, to be honest. But even prior to that, if I can, in my introduction, you mentioned that I lived in a war-torn country. And so I haven't always lived in Australia, right? I was born in Pakistan, and I come from a half Portuguese, half Indian sort of mixed background, and we're Catholic. So when I was born in Pakistan, we were a less than 1% minority in that country because it's all Muslim. And it was interesting because, we didn't have a lot of freedoms as Christians in that country. So we moved to the Middle East. When I say we, my parents moved to the Middle East, and we lived there for 11 years in Kuwait.
Dear me.
Yeah, and no one had even heard of Kuwait before the Gulf War, but we were there just before the Gulf War started, but we'd seen a lot of war between Iran and Iraq, almost all of my life leading up to that point. And so, my dad was on a hijacked plane in 1984. So, I've gone through those stages in life. And when we came to Australia in 1989, just prior to the Gulf War, I got my first taste for what real freedom looked like, because it's interesting. It's all perspective. We take it for granted. You can drink water out of the hose, right? Over here in Australia, it's pretty good. You can't do that in other countries. You can't turn on a tap anywhere in Asia, most places, or in most other parts of the world and just drink water out of the tap. You just simply can't. Where I grew up, people didn't have trees in their backyard. When I came to Australia, and I noticed everyone's house had trees, and people were complaining about weeds in their backyard. I'm like, you guys have weeds? We didn't even have that growing up. It was all barren. So I'm very fortunate to be living in Australia where you really can do whatever you want to do. And so maybe you've read a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, or heard of it. I went through the poor dad kind of sort of track, where I went to school, got good grades, went to university, went into the corporate world, started working for IBM and Oracle. And 12 years later, I was made redundant. And this was in 2007 during the GFC, the global financial crisis. And I was offered a choice, Rose. They said you could stay in your job and we'll cut your pay in half, but at least you have a job. Or you can take a package and go. And fortunately for me, I had started a part-time business 2 years prior. It was very, very sort of fledgling business, but it was making a couple of $1,000s a month. Wasn't anywhere near my corporate income, but it was enough for me to say, you know what, I'm going to take this on, and I'm going to try and find my path in this business sense. And so I went from then. 5 businesses later, I'm doing what I'm doing today. So I had to figure out what I was good at, what I enjoyed. And it took me down several paths to where I am today. So that's the journey.
Okay, that's quite a journey, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it didn't just, wake up one day and go, I want to be an entrepreneur. It didn't happen that way.
No, well, we all have a journey to get where we have, where we've gotten to. I mean, in some more challenging than others, but kudos to you for being where you are and surviving through it and continuing on. So you've got these 6 stages that the business entrepreneurs go through. Do you want to explain what they might be?
Yeah, sure. So over the last 15 odd years, or actually it's closer to 16 now, since I started in business, I've worked with literally hundreds of business owners, entrepreneurs, people that are all doing their own thing. And I've met some really successful people and people that are just starting off. And every single one of them, I notice there's trends, right? So I look for trends, and the trends are, you do this step, then you do this step, then you do this step. And I pieced it all together in what I think are 6 critical stages of growth. And I really believe every entrepreneur goes through this, whether you are aware of it or not. And the first stage is what I call self-discovery. So self-discovery is all about trying to find out who you are as a person. What are your values? What's your vision? Where do you want to go? What are the things that make you tick? What's your why? And answering all of those questions. If you can find that out, then you can start putting a plan in place, right? So the first stage, really important. Who are you before you try and figure out your business? The second stage is all about, it's called empowerment. And empowerment is about, well, now that I know who I am and where I want to get to, how do I arm myself mentally, physically, all of that stuff with the right knowledge, the right support to get there? So what do I need to do to overcome limiting beliefs? What do I need to do to kind of train or retrain my mindset? Because if you're coming from the corporate world, it's a very different mindset to an entrepreneur, right? So that's stage 2. Stage 3 is about putting a strategy in place. So now that you know who you are, where you're going, working on your mindset, now you can focus on putting a plan in place. And I always believe people should visualize and kind of imagine what life would be like if everything could go right? Because you need to have some sort of vision of your future so you can aim towards it. So we have a long-term vision, we have medium-term goals, and we have short-term goals. And if you can have them in alignment, then all the activities you do day to day, week to week, will serve you not just for the current period, but for future periods as well. And everything's in alignment. So that's stage number 3. It's called strategy. So now we're really getting into it, right? Stage 4 is about implementation, and it's about putting the plan in action. So I find a lot of people get stuck here. So they do all this planning and they get stuck in the planning phase. It's, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and this is going to be perfect. And I'll keep working on the plan, but they never take action, or they take very little action. And as soon as things go south, they give up, right? And so this is about beating procrastination. This is about, not letting anything stop you. So we've done some work on our mindset. We know where we want to get to. We've got the long-term plan, but we also have the short-term daily actions that we need to take. So as long as we have someone to keep us accountable, maybe a mentor or a coach or something like that, or even a buddy system, then you will implement the things you said you were going to do, right? That's stage 4. Now, let's assume you're doing all of that. Now we get to the exciting phase, which is stage 5. It's about leverage. Leverage is about working smarter, not harder. So we're working, we're doing all these things, we're implementing, we're putting the plan in place. But the more we do, the more we realize we need to do. But there's only so many hours in a day. And especially if you're a corporate person, maybe you're a parent, maybe you've got family, you've got mortgage, you've got all these different things that you've got to look after. How can you put more and more time into your business? Well, the short answer is you really can't. So, I talk about, well, how do you use systems to work smarter? So a system is a way that you can do the same thing and get the same result, but in less time and more efficiently, more productively. So we talk about technology, we talk about outsourcing, we bring all these concepts in. They're not just restricted to big business, but you can do it as an entrepreneur, as a one-person band, right? And that's called leverage. So once we master leverage, the next stage, and I guess the final stage, but really the all-encompassing stage, is support. And support is all about having the right people and resources around you to help guide you, but also help nurture you through your experience as an entrepreneur. It's a pretty lonely business if you do it on your own. And I always say to people, if you were going to play sport, or if you were going to school, or when you go to work, you always have teammates or colleagues or friends around you. When you're in business by yourself, you need other people that are like-minded. Just to say, hey, Rose, you're doing a great job. How did you do it? Or you might say, Gavin, I'm really struggling in this area. Can you, what did you do when you got to this point? And we share information. We pick each other up when we're succeeding. We celebrate, right? So support is really important, and they're really the 6 stages. You can do some in parallel. You never master any of them. You kind of keep working on them, and that's what I teach every entrepreneur. But I actually believe that's what you end up doing by default. But if you know it ahead of time, you can plan for it.
Absolutely. I think those steps are vital to, the journey of entrepreneurship, and, leads you to a path of enlightenment because you're quite right that entrepreneurship is a lonely place. And most of us, obviously work from home. Mm-hmm. Sometimes our family and their friends don't understand why we've taken on this journey, and they're not 100% supportive of it. So, a lot of times you find yourself just struggling through because, you've got no one else to talk to. So having a buddy system or a mentor or a coach or belonging to a networking group where there are like-minded people is very helpful, because there's a lot of stress on being an entrepreneur.
Oh, yeah. Well, people always want a better life. One of the reasons I always ask people, why do you want to start a business? Why do you want to get into this? Because I'll tell you now, it's a lot of hard work. Not everyone's going to make it. Everyone can become an entrepreneur, but not everyone succeeds at their business, or sometimes you got to go through many failures till you get to a point where you succeed. And some people don't know that. They think, well, I'm just going to launch this thing and hope for the best, and that's great. And then when it doesn't work out, and it's highly likely that it won't work out, they give up and they go, well, business is too hard, I'm just going to go back to my job. And they think, well, that's a safe bet. Then they lose their job or they get made redundant, or we go through COVID or something like that. And suddenly you think, oh, I need to do something else outside my job. So now I'm back to that other thing that I didn't want to do, And so I think it's all preparation. And it's like you said, talking to people that are like-minded, trying to figure out, well, if someone has done what you're trying to do and they're a few steps ahead of you, they might be able to share some knowledge or insights that you don't have. And if you're several steps ahead of someone else, you can look in your rear view mirror and you can go, you know what, that guy or that girl or whoever is about to hit a pothole. I managed to avoid it. I'm going to help Rose avoid it too. So you make sure you stay on this lane and all that sort of stuff. So it's really critical. It's really important.
Absolutely. My business has gone through that many different changes since I started in 2015. Yeah. And, you know, I've done so many different things to get where I am. You know, I used to be a VA, and then I was you know, an online event manager, and I was you know, used to do PowerPoint presentations for, you know, for people, and also, not that I don't have stopped doing those things. I'm still doing them, but you know, that was what I was focused on. Now I'm focused on you know, podcasting and getting people in that journey, because, you know, I really enjoy the podcast, and I love what I do, and I want other people to love it, because it is fun. You get to meet some really great people.
You do. I love it too. I mean, I started the whole podcasting journey on and off since 2015 myself, and I stopped for about 4 years because I got busy doing other things, and I came back to it. Technology had improved. Suddenly there's multiple platforms. There was only one when I started. It was Apple. That was it. Now you have, you literally have that many platforms, and it's quite incredible. And I love the fact that we can do this, you know. So yeah, I think fantastic. And if you've gone through this up and down journey, that's just life. It's not just business, it's actually life. So, you know, I don't know anyone who's had a job, or who's a kid, or who's a parent, or who just goes through the normal day that has the same day every day. You know, you have some good days, you have some bad days. But guess what? At the end of the day, there's a new day to look forward to. So I always say to people, if you've had a terrible day, that's fine. What can you learn from it? And the one good thing you can count on is the sun will come up tomorrow, right?
Absolutely.
It may not in several billion years, but in our lifetime, the sun is going to come up tomorrow. And so even if it's the darkest day that you've had, and you know, and you just don't know how you're going to get through it, the sun will come out tomorrow. Every winter has a spring. You know, every day, every night has a day. You know, that sort of thing. So I always try to be positive when I share that, because there are good times ahead, and it might not look like it today, but you will get better times tomorrow.
Yeah, that's what I kept saying to myself every time I, you know, had a bit of a downfall. I think, well, I just change what I'm doing, and I'll pick myself back up off the ground and start again, and just keep going. And if that doesn't work, then I'll try something else until I find something that does work.
That's a great attitude. That's a great attitude. And, you know, for people who've never had anything bad happen to them, or never had any tragedy or anything go wrong, like, I hate to say it, but it's only a matter of time before the universe readjusts that. Because, you know, I know some people who you look at them and they're like success, and you think, surely they've had some challenges in life. Now, they may not talk about it, but to be honest, I don't think anyone has this perfect lifestyle. Everyone, you know, someone actually, one of my mentors told me it takes 10 or more years to become an overnight success.
Something like that, yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, it's very, very rare that someone is an overnight success.
Yeah.
Very rare. But but there were many steps along the way for them to get to where they are.
Of course.
Gavin, have you written a book about this process?
I have. I've actually written a real book, and I've written, when I say a real book, like a physical copy book. It's called Break Free from Corporate, Surprise, Surprise, Be Your Own Boss. And there's 12 chapters in there that talk about all sorts of things on how to basically navigate this process, from, you know, you're learning about your why, overcoming obstacles, fast tracking, you know, through the right network, finding a viable business, planning your exit strategy, you know, talking to good mentors, how to identify your customer segment, and all of that stuff. I talk about these things, how to measure what you're doing, because the only way you can improve is if you know where you're at. You know, just looking at all of those different elements. So there's the physical book. That was a process in itself, writing the book. I enjoyed it. But one of my mentors, who's a best-selling author, helped me to do that. So again, I'd never done that. And I had to get help from someone who had. And because he had done it multiple times, he's written 19 best-selling books. I figured he's a good person to teach me how to do it. So
Absolutely.
yeah, his name's Dale Beaumont. So he helped me to get that one going. But I've got ebooks out there as well, like digital copies. There's one called The 8 Bulletproof Ways to Escape Your 9 to 5 Without Risking Your Income. And I found that's been really, really successful because it's had over 400,000 downloads. And I don't know if that's for some people, that's a huge number. For some, it's like, well, they're doing that and more. But where I found people have given me feedback is there's a lot of anxiety at the moment with people wanting to start a business because they don't want to risk what they already have. Mm-hmm. So that's where they're starting from. So I say to people, if you're here and you want to start a whole new chapter here, a whole new business, let's protect what you have and just start from scratch in your own time. You're not competing with anyone. Treat it like you're learning how to play the guitar, or you're learning how to surf, or you're learning how to play the piano. You're not going to risk the house for that, but you're going to develop a skill. Now you get a teacher to teach you. You go for lessons. You get better and better and better. And as you get better, your repertoire and your knowledge and maybe the group of people you hang around starts to improve as well. And you just start elevating yourself. And so it's the same with business. I think you start small, very, very risk averse. So you're not risking the house, the mortgage, the family, the kids, the marriage, all of that. And yeah, you go from there and then you build yourself up. So that's what's in that other ebook. And that's had a bit of success.
Good. I'm glad.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess where can people find you, Gavin, if they want to work with you?
Look, thanks, Rose. I'm pretty easy to find. You can either look up my name, Gavin Sequeira. I'm on LinkedIn because I do work with a lot of people who work in the corporate sector, but I'm on all the social media, but LinkedIn is probably the best one I would recommend. You can even look up breakfreefromcorporate.com. That's my website. It's got plenty of good stuff in there. Or just Break Free from Corporate will bring up lots and lots of articles, podcasts, all sorts of things I've done with media. But those are the two, my name or breakfreefromcorporate.com, either on LinkedIn or my website.
Wonderful. All right. When we finish, as we finish up today, have you got any words of wisdom that you'd like to share?
I guess, look, the only thing I'll probably share with your audience and anyone that is listening is don't be afraid to try something and be authentic. So don't worry about what the person next door is doing. Don't worry about what your friends are doing. Don't worry about what you read on Instagram or happen to see on YouTube that someone is doing this and they're making all this money. That's them. You don't know their journey. You don't know where they've been. You don't know what it took for them to get to where they are. So don't put yourself trying to compete with them. Just be yourself, be authentic, and go, well, what can I do right now with the person that I am, the skills that I have to make a difference in other people's lives, in my community? Or now, like you said, you did things like help people with PowerPoint presentations, or you did because these are skills that you had. And you'd be surprised how many of us have skills that can help people right now. And you can list these skills online. You can help people virtually. You can set up a business. I know people who make cakes and they do it part-time, and they make good money doing it when they do weddings and things like that. I know people who have high-end corporate jobs and they're part-time photographers and they're making a decent income. They'll do the odd wedding or two every month, and they're making good money. So you'd be surprised what kind of businesses you can do just with either your hobby, your skills, your interest in an area. So I recommend people try something. Don't get to the end of your life and go, I wish I'd done that, because life's short. It's meant to be enjoyed, but always remember why you're doing it. You're not. If the sole purpose is just to make money, you only hit it this far, and then the money won't mean anything to you after a while. You need something more to drive you. So keep that in mind. And that ebook I mentioned, the 8 Bulletproof Ways to Escape Your 9 to 5 Without Risking Your Income, that's free. It's a gift. If you guys want to download that, I'll send you the link and you can click on that. And it's a 15-minute read. It could end up making a big impact in your life. So good luck.
Lovely, Gavin. Thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure to meet you, and it was very insightful about how to break free from corporate. I loved it. It was great.
Thank you, Rose. I appreciate it, and great work with your podcast, and with everything that you're doing with the Talking Experts business. Fantastic. More power to you.
Thank you so much. All right, we'll talk to you soon.
Take care.
You've been listening to Talking with the Experts, hosted by Rose Davidson. Make sure you have a look at our back catalogue over at talkingwiththeexperts.com, and be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss out on any episode. We look forward to your company next time. Talking with the Experts.